For a couple of years now, I have been falling in love with something called indie animation. And for those who don't know what that means, it's where creators can develop their own animated series online, rather if it's big like Digital Circus, Murder Drones, and Hazbin Hotel, or small like Ramshackle or Lackadaisy. And I feel like we need indie animation now more than ever, considering that animation is not in the best light at the moment with people not taking it too seriously anymore. Sure, some of these projects can have their little duds, but it doesn't take away the creative part of the talented people behind these shows. And us like fans and other people are encouraging them to reach for their goals. However, there is one channel that I'm here to talk about that kinda tarnished that, and that's the channel called Vanitymoth. I hope I'm saying that name right because I keep recording this over and over again. This is a YouTube channel that mostly talks about stuff like murder drones and even reviews some indie animation stuff. Now you might be thinking, what's so bad about that? Well, nothing. But the way he reviews them is kind of a problem, at least for me. Before we start this, I just want everyone to know that I am not against this guy. In fact, some of the stuff he says I do think are fair points, but I feel like this does need to be called out, especially when I'm the one who seems to see these problems. And before you say, well, it's his opinion, I respect that. But just because someone else may have an opinion doesn't mean I can't share mine. I'm not trying to persuade anyone into agreeing with me or anything like that. I just have a different opinion like everyone else, and I just want to share my thoughts on this person and what I think he's doing wrong. Are we clear? Do I have to repeat it 5 times? Okay, let's move on. This is kind of moving right along ahead in the video, but like I said before, he does make some good points in his reviews, and some of the criticisms are valid. But some. Half the time he seems like he's just nitpicking about the most smallest of details and clearly states that he enjoys what he sees, but he can't fully enjoy it because of those nitpicks. Now, I kinda get it, and sometimes I would even try to put myself in the position of the said person to see where they're coming from with it. But he keeps going on about said nitpicks over and over again as if it's ruining the entirety of the show, to the point where he would say that the whole show is kind of a disappointment. Now, I can kind of forgive if it's like for one show or one episode that has minor nitpicks like that, except that he usually does this in all of his videos. And ignoring the Fizzy Pop and Murder Drone videos, it just seems like he doesn't give much of a spotlight for the other shows than they deserve. And a lot can be said for his review on Digital Circus. Now, I actually have a lot of problems with his statement on his review on Digital Circus, mostly on how he says that the characters are not that appealing. By the way, Gangle, you are precious. In the pilot, we see how appealing these characters really are, and we can also see them getting plenty amount of screen time at that fact. And I don't believe in the fact that in a pilot episode, a character has to look so presentable and yada yada yada, all that. Look, shows like SpongeBob, The Simpsons, and even The Muppet Show usually don't turn out as good as they are now. And that can be said for a lot of shows. They usually have a rough start, but gradually by season and by episode, they start to get a little better. By then, we see them grow more, we see them look more presentable, especially when you look at shows like The Muppet Show. You can see that the characters look a bit rough and their characters are not well developed. But by season 2 and 3 onwards, you can see how the characters have evolved, and how so recognizable and beloved they are to this day. The same can be said for shows like Digital Circus. So far, we don't really know the full backstories of these characters, or why they are the way they are. And we shouldn't have to know that in the pilot right away. Characters take a long time to develop. Believe me, I'm still trying to develop my own characters. I could understand these criticisms if the show was like in its 7th episode or what, but this is only the pilot. And it gets worse when he reviews the 2nd episode. Now, I will admit, there were some stuff in the 2nd episode of Digital Circus that I wasn't principally fond of. I felt like the story was a little bit too rushed, especially for a heart-to-heart talk in the 2nd episode. I still stand by that Jack should have been toned down a little. I mean, I made a whole video discussing about it and a parody video. But I'm not gonna say that the show is completely awful because of just one meh episode. It's still developing and will possibly get better as the show goes on. Well, that seems to not be good enough for Vanitymoth, because he claimed that this is the worst show or indie project he has ever seen because of the 2nd episode.
and is one of the most wearisome, uninspiring, and insulting excuses of amusement in the indie animation sphere, and it would still get tens of millions of views that nobody would want to point out as being a disappointment out of fear of being attacked by this show's massive fan base. And you know how I know that as a fact? It's because that is what Candy Carrier Chaos is. Out of all the episodes of shows I have reviewed since I started this channel, the amazing Digital Circus astonished me by releasing a contender for the worst piece of indie animation I have had the misfortune of reviewing, and above all, is not worth your time.
That's something I don't understand with most critics. They don't even like the show that they're reviewing. And that's fine, like, you make like one review on it, that's fine. But then you keep reviewing the same show over and over again, despite knowing that you don't like it. I mean, there's a difference between liking a show and wanting to critique it. And then there's just hate watching.
Why do you two even bother coming if you don't like the show?
Yeah, that's like ordering food you don't even like every day. Like, can you really blame us at that point?
Fuck you, Tubby!
And that is the biggest problem I have with this person, and why I made this video. The main problem I have with Vanitymoth is that he doesn't give other projects a chance. Most of what he does is praying for murder drones, and when he talks about other shows, he writes them off as, they're not worth it. And I think it's completely unfair to trash a show when you're only like 2 episodes in. Like, every show is gonna have some problems, and not all shows are gonna be perfect. But saying that a show is not worth your time and not even giving it a fair chance only 2 episodes in? That's just unfair. Like, at least wait until the other remaining episodes are out and then maybe make your statement on the show. And if you don't even like the show, why are you still reviewing it? And no, this is not a don't like, don't watch argument. Because some people who criticize a show, they generally like it. They generally love the show and they want to see it improve. This is just hate watching. And I have a theory, and I could be wrong, but it could be that he's kind of upset about the show Murder Drones ending because of Digital Circus, which was already established that that wasn't the case by Glitch themselves. Now, he does do some good reviews, like some Murder Drones episodes, and even that one Lackadaisy short, but that still doesn't excuse the fact that you're not fully giving other indie projects a chance. The thing is, you're reviewing them like they're movies. Yes, it's a good thing that you should critique on indie animation projects that help them improve and learn. And if only you care about the project that is pursuing. But you don't fully seem to care about that, and that's the main problem. You don't seem to give other creators a chance. The problem is that you're seeing these like if they're animated movies, when these are products that people are still trying to learn from. And yes, you should be honest on said products, but don't go so brutally hard on it, especially when they don't come from that big of companies. And that's pretty much all I have to say. In conclusion, Vanitymoth is not a bad reviewer, but I feel like his perfectionist ego kind of gets in the way with him enjoying these shows and appreciating them more. Because indie animation is still rather a new thing, and sure, some shows may not be golden, but at least take the time to appreciate all the love, sweat, and even tears that are put into making these products, especially when animation is going through a dark time right now. Vanitymoth, if you're watching this, I have no hate or grudge against you at all, but I think you need to give more indie projects a chance and not just write them off as, nothing special, because everyone's art is special. This is a new age for animation. It's small, but it's a big difference for every team and every studio, and I just wish that you would show more love to them like everyone else. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I know this was a bit of a different video, but I just really wanted to get my thoughts out there because I love indie projects. And I feel like they need to be at least more appreciated because the people who makes these, they all started out small. Like me, like everyone else. And look where they're at now. And without the help with not just a team, but also for supporters and fans, they wouldn't get to where they are today.